How do you do, ladies and gentlemen? What's the real truth about Citizen Kane?
It'll probably turn out to be a very simple thing.
My name is Max. My world is fire and rosebud.
And I'm Parker. And we'll go back to another episode of Better Than Citizen Kane, the highly subjective show. We look at a movie and ask that titular question. Because when every movie ever made is a readable contender for the title of greatest film of all time, you have to wonder, better than Citizen Kane.
What a day. What a lovely day. It's my impression of Nicholas Hoult. Witness us as we ride eternal, shiny and chrome, and discuss George Miller's modern classic, Mad Max Fury Road 2015.
Woo!
Parker, did you have the thing? Do you forget how much you like this movie before you watch it again? Is that an experience for you at all?
Yeah, I've had that for sure. You know, it's just like it's one of those things that I revisit and I'm always just kind of pleasantly surprised at how well it works.
Mm-hmm.
Always am afraid it's going to drop off a little bit. What about you?
Well, I don't live in fear of things I like becoming worse, like you apparently.
So it's a constant struggle for me. It's my cross to bear.
You're constantly scared.
Yeah,
you're always a little.
I hate
scared.
rewatching movies I love because I'm just like, oh no.
Please be good.
Please still be good.
No, I get that. I get that. I've done that. When did I watch? I watched this last year as part of the Furiosa celebrations. I think a lot of people probably did.
Right.
But before that, like I hadn't seen it in a number of years. I always meant to. I do the thing. I'm probably have talked about this on the show before, but I do this thing where I don't let myself watch my comfort movies. Yeah. Like I have favorite movies, but I'm just like, you can't just watch the same stuff all the time. Even though it's like, I would like to watch Kiki's Delivery Service once this year, please. And my brain goes, no, you gotta wait. And I'm like, why? And that's that's been my approach to this movie so often.
Interesting.
Is that like okay. Before I get into my history, Parker, I do want to hear about your history of Fury Road. So I'm going to cut off the flow of the show completely to ask you that question.
All right. Slam the brakes.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting because I have a very distinct memory of this. It came out my second semester of college, you know, beginning of 2016. And I had just started venturing into the world of rated R movies. I couldn't tell you exactly what it was probably The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, you know, but like, I'm talking about like a modern R-rated film. I don't know for sure what my first one was. I don't clock it, but this was one of the earliest. I know that much. Okay. Because it was one of those things that this movie came out and people I knew and respected and liked were talking about it. And like, I'd be in class and my friends were like, have you seen this yet? I was like, no. Like, you really should see it. And I know it was one of my first because I remember I was kind of waffling on it a little bit. I was like, well, I don't know, you know, just from where I was raised and the religion I was a part of, I was just, I don't know if I should do this. But the other thing that was kind of a deterrent to me was just, I knew of Mad Max as a franchise, but never seen any of it. And still to this day, have not seen the originals, which I should look into at some point. But I was worried that I was like, well, this is like, how much of this do I need to know? And my friend was like, nothing. Like, you can just go and see this. And so I bit the bullet and I went and saw it. And let me tell you, even in a kind of tiny theater in Cedar City, seeing this on the big screen was just sort of transcendent. You know, you're just like an overwhelming audio and visual experience. And I had a great time. I loved it. I loved it so much. And it is one I have enjoyed revisiting. It's certainly isn't an annual. It's not an annual watch, but it's I don't know, it's somewhere up there. Let's see. How many times how many times have I watched this the last 5 years? Thank goodness for the way that Letterboxd keeps track of all of this for me. It's fun to look back on. Thanks, Letterboxd.
Thanks, Letterboxd.
Okay, yeah, so I watched this most recently for the show, like last week. I watched it May of last year, and then I watched it in 2021, July. So, yeah, so it's not an annual watch, but like it's something that I do enjoy quite a bit
come back
and
to.
love when I come back to.
Yeah, that's great. I
Yeah.
love to hear that it transcends whatever theater you're in,
Yeah, truly.
because I think that's probably true.
Mm-hmm. Did you catch this in theaters?
I did. And Parker,
Okay.
you're gonna hate it. You're gonna hate what I have to tell you right now, which
Mhm.
is that it was my first year of high school.
Don't tell me these things.
The
No,
tears.
please.
Another wrinkle appears on Parker's
Please.
face.
No.
We know how this works,
Yeah,
Parker. You're
I
4
know.
years older than me.
Turn into
4,
dust.
Yeah. Turning to a world of fire and dust and blood and whatever.
Absolutely.
I was 15, so I was technically wrapping up junior high, because how my
Mhm.
school worked was 9th grade was your last year of junior high, and then you had 3 years at the high school.
Hey, mine was the same way.
There you go. So I wanted to word it as my first year of high school instead of telling you that I was finishing up junior high.
Yeah, that really would have hit me too hard.
I threw you
think.
a bone. I threw
Thank
you
you. I appreciate that.
I threw you a dusty bone.
Yeah.
In theming with this movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just talking with my dad about this the other night. Because he must have seen it.
Mm-hmm.
He went and saw it. Like, here's what I think happened. My dad went and saw this with a buddy of his, like Thursday midnight premiere, like, preview screening. I'm fairly certain. And then the next day, he checked me out of school early and took me to a matinee showing of this, because he was like, I think Max needs to see this.
Mm-hmm.
And this was not my first rated R movie. I think that probably goes to like Shaun of the Dead or something. But my dad had always been pushing for me to watch things that he knew I would like and would open my mind, but they were rated R. And so we had kind of a family tie situation where he'd be like, you gotta watch this rated R movie. And I'd be like, Dad, I'm 13. I don't think that's appropriate. I was always kind of like, no, I can't. And it would take a lot for him to convince me. Fury Road, I don't think he did. I feel like I remember seeing the trailer. I remember, because this is at a time still where like he would show me a trailer or tell me to find a trailer. Yeah. Show it to me. And I'd see a poster for something and I'd be like, what is that? And I remember he took me to see this. I think we saw it at like the mall, like the Cinemark in the mall in like 30 minutes north of here or something like that. And this, how people talk about seeing Star Wars? Yeah. Or seeing like any of those major 80s. I mean, a lot of people talk about it with Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior. Like a lot of filmmakers reference that movie as like that changed their lives. This, I would credit this movie with being the movie that changed my brain. Like this, like I was 15 and I'd never seen anything like this. When I watched it this time, I watched it with a friend, and when they cut off the chastity belt, I remember being 15 and seeing that hit the dirt and having to like in real time and discern so much from that of like, okay, so what I do know about what sex is, I guess is at play here. And then I had to be like, okay. And like this movie, when you're 15 and you're a little more sheltered, I think that this just kind of, this asks you to figure a lot of things out really quickly. Yeah. And I think it does that of everybody. It's not just my experience, but like, here's the thing. I think the movie is also doing that perfectly. Like there is so much to learn from just like, okay, they're with bolt cutters cutting a chastity belt off of this woman. And like that image tells you a lot about what these girls go through. Yeah. Because up to that point, we haven't really seen or heard a ton, right? Like this is when we see the wives fully for the first time in that shot, right? Like in that scene. Anyway, this movie changed my entire brain, and like showed me what a movie could be that I had never seen before. Like just absolutely blew me away and was like at the top of my list of favorite movies for years, but I would always have to like edit that depending on who I was with. So like in high school, if someone was like, what's your favorite movie? I'd have to give like a normal answer instead of my real answer, which was Mad Max Fury Road.
I see. This
Yeah.
is now I'm getting the puzzle pieces that I've been missing from your lore of why you got so mad when I proposed the idea that maybe John Wick 4 had beaten Mad Max off its pedestal of greatest action film of
I
all
know
time.
we've told this story before, but I was so irrationally angry when I saw that and got like internet rage and said, "Oh, fuck you." Like that was my first reaction when I read that. And I had to like take a second to be like, okay, calm down. You haven't seen John Wick 4.
See,
Maybe
but
it
now
is.
this all makes a lot more sense though. If this was your Star Wars and your favorite movie for years, of course you react that way. That makes so much more sense. I thought you just hated my opinions.
And I do.
Right.
But in this exact situation. No, I love this movie and like was such a key part of my relationship with my dad. Like such a basis for my dad and I's relationship is seeing movies together when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But specifically like Fury Road became such a touch point for us. And also just like I listened to the Junkie XL score a ton when I was writing. Like I was writing a lot at the time and I would just listen to that while I was writing. It's just continued to be a movie that like, and well, I say that I forgot how much I liked this movie until like when I rewatched it last year, because it had been a number of years since I'd watched it.
Okay.
My dad had tried to get me to watch the black and chrome edition, the the black and white version of it several times. Like he bought it digitally and kept being like, "Oh, you got to check that out with me." And I kept being like, yeah. And then like, college and whatever, and you get busy. And I just hadn't revisited it in so long. And I watched it last year and I was just kind of like, yeah, this movie means a lot to me.
Yeah.
And I just kind of forgot for like a number of years. I think because I was like, I can't say that's my favorite movie. I have to say other stuff. But this is one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
This is easily one of my favorite movies. It's in like probably my top 10.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like it's a really great film. And Parker, what if I told you that in advance of this episode, in the last 2 days, I read the entirety of Blood, Sweat, and Chrome by Kyle Buchanan, which details the entire making process of this movie?
I'd call you a liar.
Well, I did.
All right. Well, all right. Let's talk about something here for a second. I'm getting real sick and tired of you making me look like the lazy host. I don't like this. I don't like the vibe. I don't like the energy.
You're not.
I'm in the middle of moving. I'm going across the country this week. I'm in my parents' basement, and Max pulls up and says, "Guess what? I read a book on the making of this film in 2 days." Man. All right. Well, the
Parker,
bar has been set.
We can only. You can only. How is that phrased? How is that said?
I don't know where you're going.
How
here.
people want to make you feel, you let them make you feel. So if you want to feel like the lazy host, you've got to let me do that. But I'm not gonna. I can't do that without your permission. Parker is very nice. He edits the podcast every week. He does everything. God forbid that I want to meet you where you're at and do half the work as well. Usually I just freeload, and the one time I'm not freeloading it, Parker's like, "Fuck you."
That's so true. That's so true.
That was really funny though. It was a good moment.
I thought you'd like that.
I was so excited to not tell you that I was reading it. I thought so many times about telling you, and it was worth not telling you.
That was worth it. That was worth it.
This marks the third book I've read for this podcast. The first being Orlando, the second being Citizen Kane: A Filmmaker's Journey,
right,
and the third being Blood, Sweat, and Chrome.
Okay.
And I think just every once in a while, I'm just gonna drop one of those on you.
Perfect.
Not a book. Wait. I would never drop a book on your head. That might hurt you.
See, I'm gonna one up you one of these days. I'm gonna come to the podcast and I'll be like, "Yeah, so like, I sat down with Roger Deakins. I got him. I talked to him about this."
And can we cut to my interview with Roger Deakins? And I'm like, "What?
What?"
What?
Yeah.
Why wasn't I there? Why wasn't I? Oh, I didn't think you. I thought it'd be funnier if I.
I thought it'd be funnier if I did do it. If I did this way. Anyway, so you read through this book.
I would be. Yeah, I read through the book.
Mhm.
And it's the thing where, remember when we covered Nope last year?
Yeah.
And I like watched the entire feature length making of documentary and like did so much research and was like, yeah, I feel pretty confident this is one of the best movies ever made. And also it just so happens that I really like the movie.
Sure.
I'm never going to do this much research to a movie I don't like,
Mhm.
except for that one time I did that with The Greatest Showman, which played well
Which
and
you like.
everyone liked it, I'm sure.
Mhm.
I don't like The Greatest Showman.
Yes,
What are
you
talking
do.
about?
Yes,
No,
you
I
do.
don't. No, I don't.
You're a liar.
You should watch Better Man. Anyway, you should watch the monkey one. Monkey one.
Yeah, Monkey.
How many times can I trick Parker into sitting down to watch Michael Gracie's films? Let's find out.
That's fine.
Better Man is good though. Anyway, Mad Max Fury Road.
Mhm.
Here's the thing. I read it, and this is to say I listened to it. So there's the penny drops. Now Parker's like, oh well, okay.
You know me, notorious audiobooks don't count, Parker.
Yeah, that's what they called you in college, I'm pretty sure.
Right. Yeah.
Not in high school. I don't know what they called you in high school, but
Nah.
Will told me that in college everyone called you hates audiobooks, Parker.
Yep.
Anyway, so I listened to this, which means that I didn't really like highlight anything.
Mhm.
So basically every fact I learned I'm just going to recall from memory.
Great.
Because I think as we talk about the movie, they're gonna come back to me, because here's the thing is like, this is a pretty simple movie to summarize,
Mhm.
because everything is pretty memorable in it, because
Yeah.
it's one big chase. Here's some quick background though. So after Beyond Thunderdome, the third Mad Max film with Mel Gibson, that movie didn't perform super well. It was, kind of made more PG-13, a little more family friendly. It lost a lot of the audience.
Yeah.
And George Miller was just kind of like, okay, I think I'm done. Like, I don't really have any ideas for this. And people kept asking him as he made things like Witches of Eastwick and was producer on Babe and was making Babe big in the city.
Right.
People kept being like, another Mad Max? And he just kept being like, I don't have any ideas for that.
Mhm.
But it was I think it was just before Babe or just before Babe Pig in the City. He was brought in like the mid 90s to discuss a Mad Max TV series.
Okay.
At the time, Warner Brothers was like, we want to do this on TV. We think that the toys and like the market for this could be really great. And he came in and he was like, yeah, this is great. This is super exciting.
Mhm.
So they brought in comic book artist Brendan McCarthy. Let me just double check that's his name.
Mhm.
Let's see here. Yeah, Brendan McCarthy. And they were going to work together on that and start talking about like ideas for that. Very quickly, George Miller was like, oh, actually, why aren't we just doing this as a movie? And one of those kind of first ideas that Brendan McCarthy introduced to George Miller was Mad Max delivering a package to this, this dictator in the wasteland. And at the end, it's revealed when he opens the package that it was a vial of sperm. And it was this idea of this dictator being like, I'm going to use this to impregnate like this teenage girl that I have in captivity. And so that was kind of like an initial idea that Brendan McCarthy introduced, and George Miller kept thinking about it. And he was like, oh, I really like the idea of like pirates in the wasteland, but what they're fighting over is humans. It's not oil. It's not water. It's humans. And so that kind of stuck in his brain. In 97, they really start looking at doing a production of this, right? So they're like, okay, let's start storyboarding. And this is kind of where it starts, is because Brendan McCarthy was a British comic book artist, and they also brought in Nico Lathoris, and they just kind of were quickly realizing that they just liked doing this as a storyboard. They didn't feel that there was any like need for a screenplay.
Sure.
Because also like, action isn't particularly exciting to read in a script, but if you're seeing this, then it's a very clear vision of what you want to do. So, Babe Pig in the City really bombs and underperforms. And so it takes a few years to kind of get off the ground. In the early 2000s, they take it from Warner Brothers to Fox because George Miller was pretty unhappy with how Warner Brothers had treated him since Beyond Thunderdome, of just like Witches of Eastwick and all that. And he was also going to do, he had been working on a movie that he got kicked off of. I can't remember which movie it was, but he got kicked off of that, or had to step away because the studio was kind of like, so they took it to Fox, and 20th Century Fox was like, yeah, we'll do it. And they start doing production. I feel like this is a pretty famous part to the story, is just that like this took 20 years to really come about. Because in the early 2000s, they're like, okay, we're going to do it. George Miller has a meeting with Mel Gibson where he brings him in and shows him all the storyboards. And Mel Gibson's like, yeah, let's do it. But we've got to do it quick because I'm already almost 50 and I don't know if I'll be able to do it even now, but not even in a few years. They're getting all set up. And then 9/11 happens.
Yeah.
And the American dollar really decreases and it just kind of collapses economically. And 20th Century Fox gets really nervous about the cost of the movie because of the economy. And they pull out, and the movie is basically canceled after they were, well into pre-production on this thing. And then, then in the mid 2000s, you have everything with Mel Gibson. So then he becomes not viable for the role. And George Miller goes on to do Happy Feet. And while doing Happy Feet, basically everyone who was working on the film was like still kind of poking around with it. Like they had kind of an office in Sydney where they just kind of kept kind of quietly being like, well, let's just keep this thing alive a little bit, so it's just like the barest amount of a heartbeat for this thing. And after George Miller's done with Happy Feet, which performs really well, he's like, okay, like let's get this going. So he's doing pre-production and production on Fury Road and Happy Feet 2 at the same time.
Wild.
Which is wild. And that's kind of going into the early 2010s. They get Tom Hardy cast, they get Charlize Theron cast. Like this is all kind of moving forward. It's like I swear it's like the early 2010s. They're about to film. They have this whole desert in Australia that they're going to be filming in. And then, and basically while George is working on Happy Feet 2, his production designers and everybody, they're testing the vehicles in the desert, and they're like running all the vehicles around and making sure they work in the sand. And they like are sending him footage of this and being like, we're all set to go. And the minute the night that after they leave the desert, after 15 years of drought, a rainstorm hits. And the entire valley just like becomes a garden.
Yeah.
And they're like, we can't shoot here because now it's not even a desert anymore. And so, to his credit, who was the producer on this? Which producer was it? Let's see. Doug Mitchell was the producer, and he's worked with George Miller for a long time. Doug Mitchell, without telling, at this point it's back with Warner Brothers, by the way, I forgot to mention that. Doug Mitchell, without telling anyone, just gets all the cars on a boat and they just send them to Namibia, which is where they were going to film it in the early 2000s. And they're just kind of like, okay, we're going to do this. And the studio's like, you did what? And he's like, yeah, their cars are on a boat, they're headed to Namibia, and we're just going to go film there. And then the studio's kind of like, okay. So they all get that all situated. It was a really hectic production, but also it sounds like it was really, really fun.
Yeah.
For at least the guys who got to design the movie, because they talk about bringing in a junk artist, someone who repurposes junk to make art. They bring him on. I believe his name is Colin Gibson. That may be someone else. I've heard these names so many times.
Sure.
But they brought him in, and they bring in all of these engineers, and they bring him to like, there was just this massive junkyard of junk, and they were just like, okay, you have a garage, you have a junkyard, go and find stuff, and you can make weapons, you can make cars. But the thing is that if there's going to be like an item, it has to be able to do 3 things, because this is in a world where you can't just have excess. And so like one of the guys is like, okay, I've designed this weapon that is made out of like a tool that can also be used to fix your car. And also it looks like a cross. So it's kind of like a holy symbol you can use to pray to. And he's like, those are the 3 functions. And like, the car stuff is so interesting because these are real working vehicles.
Right.
And like looking at looking at like the Giga Horse, which is what Immortan Joe drives around in, that's just like, what even was it's like it's two Corvettes on top of each other,
Cool.
and like they had to refill it every 30 miles or something because it was
Sure.
just like using up so much stuff. But like they talk about how when they first turned that on in the garage, the entire building shook. Like these are real vehicles, they're doing all this stuff. Meanwhile, they're bringing in stuntmen to be the war boys because they're like, this is the easiest way to do this. But what that means is when they're in Namibia, there's like a month before anyone else gets there where there's just war boy camp, and it's just a like a dance and like physical, like a physicality instructor just working with these stuntmen, teaching them how to be actors, and like teaching like you need to really embody this in every way. So it's not just the physicality, it's also like think about what your backstory is as a war boy, come up with a name for yourself. It's like theater camp. Like these guys, these stuntmen, so many of them were very nervous, they're very like, I've never done anything like this before, and they are like brought around to be actors. And they got really into it. They came up with like the V8 chant where they put four fingers and four fingers interlocked and say
good
V8.
for them.
Yeah, and like they created a functioning cult basically that was like tongue-in-cheek but very like the emotions were very real to the point like when Hugh Keys-Byrne would be walking around the town that a lot of the crew and cast were staying in, this like tiny kind, I guess it's also kind of like partially mostly just like their like tent city that they lived in. But like when they would see Hugh Keys-Byrne, they would all chant Immortan and like bow to him, and like it just sounds really fun because also Hugh Keys-Byrne was also a very nice man. But like they did this really interesting thing. So also, what I did write this down because I wanted to make sure I got it right. But Eve Ensler, who is the writer of the Vagina Monologues, had done a lecture in Sydney that George Miller had heard about. And when they were gearing up for production in Namibia, he heard that she had done like a talk in like Cape Town or something, like near there. And so he called her up, and she came and she worked with the wives actresses.
Oh,
and like
really
the thing about the wives was none of them had names in the script. They were just like knowing, capable, splendid, all of these things. And he really encouraged all of the actresses behind the wives to spend time together, to get to know each other, to develop a chemistry together. The audition process for this movie was nuts, because basically what they would have is they'd have people come in and they would have them tell them a story of the saddest or happiest thing that ever happened to them. It didn't have to be true, but they just had to give that story. They used because there's not really any dialogue in this movie. They used a scene from the script for Furiosa, which had also been written. And they didn't assign any genders to either role. And so they would have like Nicholas Hoult and Zoe Kravitz do a scene where one of them is being held captive and the other one is the aggressor. And then after that was done, they would switch them and have them do that. And like it was not gendered at all. And they just really encouraged, like one of the auditions was, hey, we're going to have like these 5 girls or so come in, and we're just going to watch them interact with each other, and we're going to let them just kind of go nuts and just like figure out who they are to each other. And like it was such kind of an open audition process while also being highly specific and so bizarre and different from what people usually get. And like apparently like so many people in Hollywood were desperately trying to get into this movie because like it just word spread of like, this is a really interesting project. And so back to Eve Ensler, she came in and she really worked with them and talked to them about how, she had worked with women in the Congo who were victims of sexual abuse and power, and like really worked with them. They did this wild thing where they had all the stuntmen who were going to be war boys doing a ceremony for the Immortan, and they brought in the wives and had them all veiled so that they couldn't be seen, and had them sit in this and had the war boys do all their chants and like bonkers behavior. And all of the actresses playing the wives were like, it was so intense and it was very emotional, and like we could feel how like, obviously they're not in real danger,
right?
But like it got them in the mindset of like, it got the stuntmen in the mindset of like, we can't look at the wives ever at all, because that would be a slight to our god, the Immortan. And like the wives are like, okay, we're afraid of the war boys, this is who they are to us. Like just a lot of
Fascinating.
really interesting like socialization of cast to each other
Mm-hmm.
that I found really fascinating and really interesting and unique, of like creating this entire thing. And like that's the other thing, is all the designers designing cars had to think about like, okay, where did this car come from, who uses it the most, and like it's such a well thought out and like deeply like built out world, solely by inviting creatives behind it to do that work themselves
Mm-hmm.
as part of their typical job.
Yeah.
I thought that was really interesting.
That is very interesting.
It's such like a, and also you have to think about the fact that like some people were working on this film for 15 years. Like some version of this film was gestating in people's minds for 15 years. Like they had time. For a long time, they were thinking that the polecats, which is, you know, these massive bending poles that were going to be on top of vehicles with stunt performers on top of those, they were like, well, that's going to have to be CGI. We'll shoot them flat against just a green screen and then composite them in on top of the vehicles. But then, because George was working on Happy Feet 2, and there was a bit of a delay with the whole desert becoming a garden thing, that gave them the time for someone to figure out how they were going to do that. And they figured out the exact like counterbalancing for these poles so that people could do what they needed to do. And it's just kind of like a testament to like, if you give like 1,000 people enough time, they will create one of the greatest things ever.
Yeah.
Like, just like go nuts, do it on a studio budget, which is wild. There was a lot of meddling with this thing, because also at around the time it was filming in 2013, there was this kind of big contest between 3 executives at Warner Brothers, and all of them were competing to become the new like CEO of Warner Brothers, I believe, or the president of Warner Brothers. And so one of those guys, as kind of a show of power, came out to set and was like, yeah, I'm cutting your schedule completely. You can't. And basically they weren't going to be able to shoot the beginning of the movie or the end of the movie. And he was like, you'll just have to figure it out. So everything with the Citadel wasn't going to be in the movie because this guy was like, I'm not going to let you do that. You can't do that. Because he was basically just trying to show power in the face of artists so that he felt he stood a better chance of becoming president. He ends up losing. He is not made president of Warner Brothers. Another guy is. And that guy comes in and watches the cut in like December of 2014, and is like, there's no beginning or ending to this movie. it's like you have to go and you have to film this. And George Miller had been like trying to tell them that, and so he's like, okay, like on your dime, we'll go back out there and we'll get this. And so they were able to regroup in Sydney and get everyone back, which was even more impressive. And that's just kind of like, okay, here we go, like we've got the beginning, we've got the end. Just a lot of interesting stuff about this production. But ultimately, it seems like it was a really, like, okay, well, let's say this. Obviously, it's been reported a lot that Charlize Theron and Tom Hardy did not get along great on this set. It's really interesting. The book has a lot of quotes directly from cast and crew, and Charlize Theron talks in depth about her experience with this. And, like, it sounds like Tom Hardy is hard to work with, which makes sense.
Unsurprising.
But also, and, like, I was interested in the fact that, like, this book is really interesting in that how it allows Charlize to critique, like, she loves George Miller, and like she is so glad she got to do this production. She's like, it was also really hard. Like, they all were out there for 9 months in the desert, pretty isolated from any real town for most of this production. They were basically being their characters, just like suffering in the desert. They shot this in sequence as much as possible. So they didn't have the beginning or the ending, but they shot the whole thing in sequence, which helped the actors a lot. But like, and also I guess like makes sense from like what the movie is.
Sure.
But like, it was just grueling. It was so grueling. It was so hot and super cold, and like you had to be out there all the time.
Yeah.
And like Charlize Theron is like, she recognizes, like, I wish that I'd been able to recognize more of like and trust George more. But that's the thing. This was so hard to grasp onto what this was supposed to be.
Well, totally. Like, you look at this thing and it makes sense now. Like, we look at it and we're like, oh yeah, like that's Fury Road, that's Mad Max. But if your only other like comparison point to Mad Max is Thunderdome most recently, and like the clips I've seen of that, I'm sure she's probably looking around being like, is this ever gonna like actually work? Like, is this going to be a Star Wars prequels level, like, critical flop of everything's firing off, but like I don't understand what's happening here?
Or like, you know, at that point it's like it's been in production hell for like 10 years. It's like, is this you know, Terry Gilliam's
is this the man who killed Don Quixote? It's like, okay, am I a part of a sinking ship decades in the making?
Right. And like I do want to say really quick though that there are so many people that are in this movie that saw The Road Warrior when they were kids that they loved, including Charlize Theron, and I just loved that. Of like, she grew up in South Africa, and was very like used to violence in her life as a kid, and she recounts like seeing The Road Warrior and being like, oh, like this makes sense to me. Like I relate to this, which is just kind of wild.
That's kind of nuts.
It's pretty nuts, but totally, like it was so hard for people to see, especially when you consider that how George Miller was shooting this was he had the edit in his mind. So oftentimes they would just shoot 3 to 10 seconds at a time.
Yeah.
So he would go in for like a close up on Charlize and just be like, okay. And they'd roll for like 3 seconds and he'd be like, okay, I got it. And so like, of course, if you're an actor, you're like, well, can I have more time to like try things or like get into the zone? He's like, no, I already got what I needed. Like he saw it so clearly in his head that he's like, I know exactly what I need, but there's not a script. It's just storyboards. Everyone, you know, recounts how lovely he is as a person, but like you'd go in there to talk to him and ask some questions about the production, like what your character was going to do, and he would just kind of ramble about the whole movie as a thing, and then you'd leave and be like, wait, I didn't get any answers.
I didn't get any answers to this. That's interesting.
And like, it's so interesting how much it sounds like he would be the kind of nightmare asshole director that we usually hate.
Yeah.
But everyone on production just talks about how it's like, but also he's a lovely, kind man who, like, I just wish I'd trusted more, is kind of how everyone talks about it. And I find that really interesting in comparison to other productions similar to this, where people are like, he had no idea what he was doing, and also he was mean.
And he was also a jerk about it.
Whereas like George Miller, it's like he knew exactly what he was doing, he just couldn't communicate it, and also he was like trying his best to be nice.
Yeah.
While also dealing with like the studio breathing down his neck and everyone being confused, and like the sheer scale of this thing, shooting on location in the desert. Just a wild production. Can't iterate that enough. You know, at one point Charlize Theron was like, can I have a woman producer out here? Like she felt really like, not, you know, she felt unsafe at times with how heated things were getting with Tom Hardy, of just like them yelling at each other. And like, she was
I've read a lot of reporting about that.
Yeah. And she's like, it's hard to be out here. And like, they work so differently from one another. And like Tom Hardy, even in the book, has a quote where he's like, I recognize that like what Charlize Theron really needed was like someone who could like work with her on this and build this with her. And he's like, I like to think now that I'm older and uglier, I could give that to her. He's like, but at the time, and like, it is interesting to think about, like at the time, it's like where he's at in his career. And again, I don't think this is like an excuse, but it is interesting to look at, like, he's coming on for a Mad Max movie, taking the shoes of someone who is famous and is the only other person who has played this role. And it's in the desert. He's also out there in the sun and this, like, I'm just trying to imagine if I was working in that environment, I think everyone would think I hated them for sure. And like, also that aside, it's like, it still sucks. Like, totally. Him coming super late to takes, and stuff like that. Like, it is interesting how it's interesting to hear people talking about it. So kind of being able to look back at it and be like, yeah, we all weren't doing great. Like, we were all not doing great, like, mentally. And yet also they're all like, I wish that I had enjoyed it more in the moment, because I really look back fondly on it now. And I'm like, oh, it's just like a stage production. Like, it's just kind of like when you're in a musical
Yeah.
And you're like, I hate every second of this because you spend so much time with those people working so hard. And now imagine if you did that musical, like Parker, imagine if you did your production of, Phantom of the Opera or whatever in the sun and the sand for 9 months.
Yeah, probably wouldn't be much fun.
No. So there are things on it. So anyway, let me finish this thought. And then we really should talk. I want to hear you talk. I feel like I've been talking for so long.
You've got a lot to share.
I read a whole book.
You did.
Charlize Theron did get a producer out there, but Doug Mitchell wouldn't really allow her to be on set specifically. She was like based out of a tent or an office, like within the place.
Okay.
And like Charlize talks about this. She's like, I hate calling her like she's my friend. Charlize Theron says, like, I understand that for Doug, he's like, they were so at risk of the studio shutting everything down that like Doug Mitchell felt like he needed to protect George from like studio interference and like other producers interfering with this. And Charlize is like, but also like, can we just recognize that like it should be more normal for like a woman producer to be on set if it's like this? Like, it's a fair point, but also she's not like, thus I hate this movie and everyone should hate George Miller and all these people. Like, she's just like, it's just how this goes and isn't that disappointing.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really kind of interesting and very nuanced take on it, because I think it would be so easy for us to go, well, then, half a star down off this movie because it wasn't perfect in production and all this.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't know. I do recommend the book. I'll stop there for now. Anything else that I remember, I'll say as we go along the summary.
Perfect.
But it seems like production was really hard, but also really rewarding for everyone. And it's just kind of nuts this movie exists at all. Not even just from like a standpoint of how long it took to actually happen, but just like looking at the other movies that came out that year. Of like that same year, you have Jurassic World coming out and you have The Force Awakens coming out. Like, it's a big year for like major sequels. And yet at the same time, it's like Fury Road is so specific, not in just like what it's doing, but also how it was made. Of like, so many productions don't get to just do this. Like, have everything made physically and go to the location and shoot this and do these insane stunts. No one died making this movie.
And thank God for that.
But also and like every stuntman in the book is like, isn't that kind of crazy?
Yeah, because they've like historically, this franchise has had some very close calls with stuntmen. They have,
including Guy Norris, who was a stuntman in The Road Warrior and broke his femur in this thing that almost killed him. He's the guy who flips Max's car at the start of this movie.
Yeah, I remember hearing about him.
He is back on this production.
Cool.
And like, that's just so cool. And his two sons were on this too.
That's awesome.
Which is really fun. And he just sounds like he's just like, yeah, it was great. And you're like, okay.
All right, yeah, go nuts.
And like, yeah, this franchise did have, these movies were really sketchy. The first two in particular.
Yeah.
And the fact that this movie is just kind of like coming back to it and like boosting it tenfold, and that no one died.
Yeah.
Is wild. Anyway. What do you think, Parker? What should we do now?
I think we can do a summary of the film. I think we can jump in on that.
Great.
We've got a lot of great table setting.
So this is in the Mad Max universe. Do you want me to do the summary?
Yeah, you just yeah.
I presume that you'll interject more on the summary.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
In fact, I invite you to do so.
I can do that. Yes. So we open with Max kind of looking over this ridge. We get introduced to the voiceover narration. And it's one of those things that is such the kind of like this movie opens in such a way that you start realizing how visual it's going to be very quickly. I like the fact over the credits we get all of this kind of B-roll of nuclear testing and these news clips of the water wars and things are going badly and humanity is facing extinction and all this stuff, right? But then once we get to like the first shot, which is Max on that ridge, and it kind of cranes down and you see a two-headed lizard, and it turns its head to like show off the two heads. You're like, okay, cool. Radiation poisoning, post-apocalypse. I got it. Like instantaneously, two-headed lizard tells you everything you need to know about this place, right?
Yeah.
Which I like a lot. Max is haunted by ghosts. He's haunted by visions of people, which I remember asking like one of my friends who watches these movies, like, do I need to know these people? He's like, no. Like this doesn't matter.
Because they're not even from any of the previous movies. And what's interesting is that was added after they were done shooting, before they knew they were going to have the Citadel at the beginning and the end. They were like, we have to provide something for people to understand where Max comes from.
Yeah.
And like that stuff was in there, but like getting it to it so quickly, I think was kind of a later decision.
I see. Okay. Gotcha. That makes sense.
And I find it really effective and really interesting, these ghosts that show up.
Totally. Especially because this movie, we talk about this a lot on the show as just kind of a personal, pet cause of mine. I am the biggest champion of really well done setup and payoff, and this movie has got it in spades.
Yeah.
And the ghosts specifically have a really great payoff in the movie that I love. But yeah, Max gets chased by some marauders, hops in his car. They chase him. They basically blow out the back of it. We get this flip, which, if I remember correctly, broke the record at the time for like most consecutive car flips in a stunt.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And they were going to do it CGI initially, and Guy Norris was the one who was like, "It's Mad Max. Like we have to do this physically.
We got to do it."
And he's like, "And that what a way to open." And it's just like, it is.
It is.
It's nuts.
Yep.
They capture him, take him to the Citadel, shave his head, or like right? They don't shave his head.
Yeah, they do. He's all hairy. They give him a buzz cut.
They tattoo his back, all of his information. He's a universal donor, which I was like, that sucks in this world.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough, guys.
For you.
But also paid off very well. Like to the point that I have a story to tell about that when we get to the end. Okay. So he busts out. There's a chase sequence, which is doing something very interesting with the frame rate that I like a lot in this segment. And I was watching it with my partner, Ellie. And she was like, that was cool. Is every action scene in this going to be like that? I said, no. And they're like, okay, cool. Like, that was cool. Might give me a headache if the whole movie's like that. I'm like, yeah absolutely.
Definitely.
Tries to break away. We see more of the ghosts. He gets caught, and then we smash cut to the title, which is really good.
Well, yeah, and he like sees how he can't escape because of the overhanging of the mountain. Like,
it's so high up.
It's a really great way to show that environment of like, we see so much of the interior and get so much of a feel of like what the War Boy's life is like before we see the exterior, and then we get the title. And I agree, it's good. Shout out to the Junkie XL score. I love that really deep cello.
Yeah,
it's just, or the bass, it's so good.
It's really good.
I like that a lot. So after the title, we just go straight to everyone coming up for water, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. We get the because we don't meet Furiosa until after the water, correct? We get that first.
Yes.
Yeah. So so we see the populace, and they are disheveled and disabled and are just kind of rotting and falling apart. We see that their lives are not great. Malnourished is absolutely. And we get a really great introduction in parts for Immortan Joe. That's one of my favorite kind of filmmaking tropes, is when you introduce a character piece by piece of, what they're wearing, how people are responding to them, and then we get a reveal of the face, which is really nice.
So they powder him and like disinfect him, and then they encase him in like plastic muscles with metals on. And then we get
the breathing apparatus.
Which is really cool.
I like the bellows on the back a lot.
The bellows on the back is so cool.
Yeah.
Hugh Keays-Byrne had played Toe Cutter in the original Mad Max. He's back for this. And they initially were going to cut all of his hair off. And then as they were kind of like, as they were about to do that, Hugh Keays-Byrne mentioned to George Miller, he's like, because George Miller's like, is it okay if we cut your hair for this? And he's like, yeah, he's like, only people, my nephews play with it, and that's kind of, I swing them around on it. And he's like, but it's fine. And George Miller was like, we can't cut it now.
I can't do it now. That's
so that's
really
why he has
funny.
this big wild mane.
I love it. Like he's like it's such a good silhouette for this guy. Like the design of Morton Joe is so good that when Furiosa comes around and he's sadly passed away, you can slot someone else into that suit and it works. Like you buy it. You're like, that's still a Morton Joe.
Yeah.
Like there is almost, and I don't say this just because of like breathing apparatus, but like there's a Darth Vader-esque quality to like, yeah, you can put someone else in the suit and it's still going to be Darth Vader.
I think it's really impressive that this doesn't feel exactly like Darth Vader as far as like a villain with a breathing apparatus goes of like I mean, obviously the palette is going to do that a lot, but like he feels so distinct.
Totally.
And you know, he comes out and he kind of talks and kind of announces to everyone and gives them some water and announces, you know, Imperator Furiosa is going on a mission to Gastown to get gasoline
and bullets from the bullet farm.
Bullets from the bullet farm.
Which is something else that I like about this is like it is fully a movie that just it has a Star Wars-esque quality to it. At least, you know, the original trilogy of like, I'm not going to explain this to you. I'm not going to hold your hand. I'm not going to give you every single piece of world building. Figure it out. And I will make it easier for you by doing very simplistic naming tropes. Like, you know, you like, what do they do at Bullet Farm? I don't know.
Probably farm bullets.
Probably exactly, right?
What do they do at Gastown?
Exactly. Like it's painting with such broad strokes that it allows for a very simplistic story for this chase to be grafted on top of. And I like that a lot. That like you are not bogged down. And I think that's something, as much as I like there are elements I like about what Furiosa does with the exploration. I kind of don't want this world explained to me. I don't want to get into the politics between these different factions very much.
And like, as fun as I think, like, and I think we'll talk very limitedly about the movie Furiosa.
Yeah.
Which is fine and has interesting stuff in it.
Sure.
And I do think Anya Taylor-Joy is good. But like, I watched this with my friend Sid. And I was talking with them about it, and they watched Furiosa before watching Fury Road.
Right.
Which I don't know anyone else who had that experience.
Neither do I.
And they still came out of this movie going, this one's better. And like, something that they said that I keep thinking about is like, they're like, I don't think I needed Furiosa because Furiosa is in Fury Road completely. Like everything that she is, I can understand from Fury Road.
Yeah.
And I think that applies to so much of this world of like, as much as I like the sequence at the bullet farm in Furiosa, particularly, I if you want to do that, just don't do Gastown. Like there's so much, and I love, and it feels like a movie that I can't even think about what it is, but there's like some movie I watched when I was a kid where like they would just point at something and go, that's a place. And you would see it very faintly and go, oh, and I would be like, I want to know everything about that place, but I don't actually want to know.
You don't actually know.
Place.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And such a good example of this is when we see through a telescope this twinkling of Gastown in the distance. And I'm just like, that looks like a refinery. I understand what that is going to be. And I'm so curious, but we don't need to know. And I think you're right. I think this movie does such a good job of just like, here's what you need to know for this story to get going and make and not have you feel completely out of your depth.
Yeah.
Which is really impressive with everything that this movie throws at you. I don't think I've ever felt completely out of my depth watching this, even when I was 15. Like, no,
it's very straightforward. It gives you everything you need.
It's straightforward without being bare.
Totally.
You know?
Yeah.
And so he announces that she's going to be making this mission to Gastown. I love sliding the wheels into place. I love that the wheels become like keys. I think that's so cool.
It's really cool.
Furiosa as a character, Parker. I do want to bring this up. I want to say 2 years ago-ish, we were trying to think of the most iconic characters of the 21st century.
Yeah.
Of like the 20th century, obviously, since that's all a film, but specifically comparing it to like the 80s of like, we have so many characters from the 80s that became immediately iconic and recognizable to the point that like, if someone dresses up as blank from the 80s, from an 80s movie for Halloween, most people will know who that is.
Right.
And I feel like when we were trying to make a list for the 21st century, we were lamenting the fact of like, oh, there's not that many. It's Jack Sparrow. It's John Wick.
Yeah.
Oh my God, no, it's John Wick. Did we count Furiosa and Immortan Joe on that list? Or did we disqualify them because they're in a franchise movie?
I think
we discounted like comic book characters and adaptations.
Yeah, right. I feel like we gave a pass to this because these weren't legacy characters.
No, they're original characters.
Yeah, so I think we gave a pass to those too.
I really think watching it this time, and especially like, reading the book, but also even just today as I was driving back down for this episode recording, I was, doing stuff today. As I was driving back, I just put on the score for this movie and I got emotional specifically thinking about like how much what Furiosa is doing in this movie actually means to me and like impacts me with like, she's kind of maybe the best action hero of the 21st century.
She's really great. Like she's just such a good character. And I love what this movie does with her. And I love the way that like both textually and intertextually it responds to her as a character. And we'll get into that in the summary. But like the thing I'll add to this is that it is like it's influential even where we don't know of. There's a story that people tell where they're getting ready to do production on the first season of Stranger Things, and they're trying to talk Millie Bobby Brown into letting them shave her head to be 11. She doesn't want to do it. Loves her hair, really is just very resistant to it. Thinks she's going to look like a boy. And they show her a picture of Charlize Theron in this movie. And she's, ooh, look, she looks cool. She looks really cool. Do that. Yeah. Do that to me, Yeah. And it's like, yeah, like it is something that has staying power and influence.
Yeah. And what's interesting about that is that when they were first kind of designing Furiosa, the original costume looks they had this idea that everyone in the desert would have like kind of bleached blonde hair just from being in the sun, kind of a vitiligo situation. And they were going to do like blonde dreads on her at one point. Like they had all these different ideas. And Charlize Theron came to George Miller and was like, well, here's the thing. If she's working in the engineering bay, if she's doing all these things, I don't know what she's doing with this long hair. Yeah. She's like, because it would get caught in things. And also like if she's in the war rig, like they can grab onto it and pull her around by it. And Charlize Theron was like, I think she just needs to have a shaved head. And George Miller was like, okay, great. He's like, I love how much you're thinking about this character. That sounds great to me. Yeah. And she's like, okay. And like realizing how much of like a hand Charlize Theron had in creating this character makes her mean a lot more to me as well. Of like, she was like, the fact that George trusted me enough that he would allow me to be like shaved head, and she's going to be a lot more androgynous, and she's not going to be, sexualized of like all these different things. And he was just like, yeah, let's go for it. And she's like, that's really exciting to me to have so much say in how this character comes out. And it sounds like for the most part, that was the case for a lot of people in this movie with their characters, but totally specifically with Furiosa, I think that's so exciting and refreshing of like in the middle of the 2010s where like after this, you have like all the woman Avengers in Endgame come together. And like, this movie is just kind of like, no, like this is who she is and this is what she's doing. And she just exists. Right.
I was thinking a ton about, and it might just be because a new trailer dropped, but while I was watching this, it got me thinking about what Tron Legacy was doing 5 years earlier, which is like legacy sequel, 80s franchise. We're bringing it back. Obviously you're not replacing the Sam Flynn character, Jeff Bridges is playing himself older, but still, like, you look at Sam Worthington in that movie, or Garrett Hedlund, and Olivia Wilde. It could have been either. They were both, 2010, could have been either of them. But, like, you look at Garrett Hedlund, and you look at Olivia Wilde's characters in those movies, and, like, Furiosa could have so easily been a Cora. She so easily could have been, because that's what the 2010s were with these action reboots, And I think that it's such a credit to Theron's work on this that, like, you can tell to the point that I like what Anya Taylor-Joy does with it, but the whole time I was like, it's not Charlize. Yeah. Like, it's not quite there, you know?
Yeah, I think so. And like, it's especially interesting, and I don't know where this line of thought goes, but like, looking at Fury Road versus The Force Awakens and like Furiosa versus Rey, I'm not pitting women to get like against each other, obviously,
but just
like,
comparisons.
It's like Furiosa and Max are so clearly meant to be like, you know, characters that are one and the same, two sides of the same coin in a certain way, where like Max is someone who has lost his humanity by being alone, and Furiosa is someone who has been put down by a community and like by a society, but still is like fundamentally believes in like, you know, redemption and freeing these people and like doing this thing and like going home. Like they are so interesting and like developed and play off of each other so well.
Yeah.
And like I don't know, maybe I don't need to bring Star Wars into it. This is a conversation for another time, maybe. But like
I see where you're going.
Looking at like the characterization of Rey as a comparison, and I like what Daisy Ridley does in those movies.
Sure.
And I don't hate Rey. But like she is just it's kind of like, well, what if Luke but a girl? It's like, what if we do the desert person but a young woman? And obviously there's a lot of differences there.
Yeah.
But like the fundamental use for that character in that story functions the same as Luke and Anakin.
Right.
Whereas this movie goes, okay, we have Max in this movie and he is Max, but also Furiosa is kind of like doing what Mad Max is supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
But it never feels like that. Like you don't look at these two people and go, well, that's the same character.
No, because she's a completely different character, but she is serving exactly the narrative role Max would have been filling if she wasn't there. Like, if this was a past film, like you said, the first inception of this was him delivering a package, right?
Yes.
Like that's what he's doing. So we're taking her and giving her that narrative responsibility, but she's a completely different character. It's not just, well, we wrote a Mad Max movie and we swapped the gender.
Which is, I think, exactly the point I'm trying to build to, is like, there are so many versions of this thing of like, well, what if we just, you know, what if we make the guy character a girl so that we get points for that? And it's like, I'm not saying that in the anti-woke sense. I just mean like, there is a lazy way to do this.
Sure.
That can be refreshing just for the sake of, wow, it's a woman in this typical role. But this movie goes above and beyond and is like making Furiosa her own person.
Yeah. I'm going to put 2 pins in this because there are 2 moments, and I want to skip this far ahead, but there are 2 moments in this movie that I think are the thesis statement of this idea.
Okay.
So we'll come back to this.
Okay. I trust that you'll remember where those pins
I
are.
know exactly where they are.
Okay, great. So they get on the road, and I love the guy who's like, boss, what's going? Like, I just love
gas town.
We're not going again. Like,
yeah,
it's and his goggles, like, and also he's like maybe also a war boy, but he's old.
Yeah,
I don't know.
He's an old
it's
war
like,
boy. Yeah.
He's just an old war, and I like to think that means that he's like 30.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a 30-year-old.
Like Nicholas Holt's gonna look like that in like 4 months, you know. But I love that initially they're like, okay, this isn't a supplies run. Like I like that they're initially just like, okay.
Well, it tells us what we need to know about this character. It tells us what we need to know about Furiosa as like the level of authority she has.
She is so high up in rank, right?
Yeah, they're not going to question her. They're just like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Change of plans.
And I mean, yeah. Meanwhile, Max is down in the basement. He's a blood bag.
Yeah.
You know.
He's not having a good time down there.
He's not having a good time, but I like Nicholas Hoult in this movie. Playing Nux. When he was cast initially, he was 19.
That's crazy.
In the original version of the script, Nux was 14. But when he was cast in like 2010, 2011, he was 19. So when they're shooting this, he's like 21, 22, something like that, which is wild to me. Yeah. And George Miller initially didn't want him even to see him. He was like, I don't think he's what we're looking for. And his casting director was like, please let me bring him in. And they did. And he was like, okay.
Yeah.
All right. And I think he's really good in this.
I do like him.
He's having a lot of fun with it. And also is like, he has to make that turncoat moment land. And he does. Like, he makes this character so sympathetic and kind of makes it clear who the war boys are, of like, they are a threat, but they are so pitiful.
Which helps the ending make sense, you know? Because like if it was so complete mindless death cults, then there is no ending to this movie. So you have to show cracks in the system. You have to show sympathy.
Yeah. And like I think it does a really good job of like as they head out, the entire war party goes out. And I do love that how long it takes for the guy on the war rig to really come around to what Furiosa's doing.
Yeah.
Where like even when their war party's coming, he's like, should we
Yeah,
go regroup with our backup?
Are we a decoy? Like, what's going on? Yeah.
And he's like, should we go, group up with the backup?
Mm-hmm.
And she's like,
because they like get in a fight. They go because before he even figures it out,
the buzzards,
the spiky guys, Hedgehog finds them, and they fight all those guys off together as a team. And like after doing that, then it's suddenly like, okay, what's actually going on? Because there are people here.
Yeah.
Because then Nux and his Lancer catch up with them. He's like, get out of the way. Like, I'm going to shoot Furiosa. Get out of the way.
Yeah. And they like shoot forward,
mm-hmm.
And kind of overtake them. And just like, I mean, how do we talk about that? Because it's just like this initial chase, and you have like, obviously you have like the Doof Warrior playing the guitar. Like every moment of this first initial chase is seared into my brain forever of just like, okay, yeah, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
And like
Max is strapped to the front of a car, like just it's crazy. It's insane to look at. It's insane to watch and describe. Like,
and like to feel like you're just like, this is so, I can't even think of the word. It's just very engaging.
Totally. Something go ahead, please.
No, go, please.
Something that is a huge boon for this movie and something that people talk about. And it's something that I teach a lot because when people don't know, they get very excited when they hear about it. Of almost every action sequence in this movie is center framed because the idea is that in frame composition, you have the rule of thirds, right? You break it into a grid and you can put things in interesting spots. Fablemans has made a meme out of this at the end of where you put the horizon line, right? But people will tell you, don't put it in the center. That's boring composition. It's not visually interesting. It's not dynamic, right? Which in static imagery is true. However, when you are doing something this fast-paced and this quick-moving, you don't want to get lost in it, right? Which happens so often in modern big-budget action films is, there's the meme online of like Taken 3 has like 14 cuts for Liam Neeson to jump over a fence. It's just, it's ridiculous. But George Miller wanted this to be fast. He wanted it to move quickly, but he wanted visual clarity. So these action sequences, every important piece of information is dead center in the frame. You can put a crosshair in the center of your TV and everything you need to know is right there so that when a cut happens, you do not have to move your eyes to catch the next piece of information. And it's brilliant. It's such a good piece of editing and cinematography that I love, which also, a very quick aside, a shout out to Margaret Sexel, who edited this film. Her husband is George Miller. They're married and has edited, a handful of his films, did Babe, Pig in the City and Happy Feet and this. But specifically for this, there's interview clips where she talks about that, like, George came to her and he's like, I need a female perspective on the inside of this thing from the ground up. Like with a finished product, you are going to find things in this edit that I will not. I want like your particular perspective as a woman because that is very important to the narrative that I am telling, which I think is a really great move.
It is. And also he mentions in the book that the other reason that he wanted her to do it is because she had never edited an action movie before.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so he's like, I love that of like, not only is she going to have this different perspective on this story and like these elements at play in the movie and the theme of the movie, but also it's like, well, I edit it in a way that makes sense for you. Someone who, I don't know, like, I feel like that is really interesting. And I just love when a director's wife is their editor. I just think that's so rad.
Yeah. Very fun.
And very cool. And like, because this movie in particular is like so edit heavy. Mm-hmm. Like, props to I'm so glad you mentioned, because I was just thinking how I wanted to bring her up because like this movie so easily could just be a big mess.
It absolutely.
Yeah.
Like this, there was such a real version of this where this is a Fast and Furious movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not.
Yeah. Or like, yeah, God. So they're doing this whole chase. I love the big spiky claw truck.
Yep.
That thing, it doesn't have claw, it has saws on the top.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's so cool. Everything going on is so cool. And
all of the vehicles are cool.
We get introduced to like the war boys, spraying chrome on their faces and saying, "Witness me." Yep. And you pointed out on this watch,
so good.
Or like, was it this watch or a few watches ago that
I had caught it before, but I pointed it out. I talked to you about this time, which is that whenever this happens, they spray paint their mouth chrome and they say, "Witness me," and everybody's "Witness," and they watch them. Yeah. And when they die, when they kamikaze, they all yell "Witness," and then they all go "Mediocre, mediocre," as like the greatest compliment, which comes back later when Immortan Joe yells that at Nux for messing it up. And it's so funny. And I've always caught the Immortan Joe one. I had not caught until recently that the War Boys are using it as like a complimentary sign of victory.
They just... It's so funny and sad.
Yeah. It's just mediocre. Yeah. It's really good.
So funny.
So the chase goes on, and to lose them, Furiosa drives into this massive sandstorm. And it might be my favorite visual sequence in the entire movie. The colors in this are insane. And I'm sure there are really cool things about the black and chrome edition of the film, but like, the colors in this movie.
The colors of this movie are nuts. I just realized we forgot to mention when Joe first kind of comes on to what Furiosa's up to.
Oh, right.
And he runs into the biodome, and the history man is there. And what's her name? What was the character's actual name? I don't know. But he runs in, and she has the whole we are people, we are not things. Our babies will not be warlords. And all of that's there, and he's brought her with him. And that is something that I do think I really like how Furiosa explained that, the movie did, of like, these are people who have stories tattooed onto their bodies. And I thought it was interesting about her. She was initially in a lot more of this, and a lot of her scenes got cut. There were a lot more scenes of like, she's in the car with him. So there were a lot more scenes of him like yelling at her and stuff. But she has stories like kind of post-apocalyptic explanations of like World War II and the Holocaust, and like all these different stories just tattooed on her body. I thought that was kind of interesting. And she would it took like 8 hours to apply the tattoos, so oftentimes she would just leave them on because she knew she was going back the next day. And one time, one of the hotel staff at her hotel came into the room and ran out screaming, and came back with a security guard because she thought that she was possessed by an evil spirit. And I go, yeah, that makes sense.
Oh man, that's good. That's really good.
But she's in the car with Joe, and I thought that was interesting. This whole chase into the storm is nuts. I also just love that there's that little metal bird skull on the dash,
the dash toy
of Nux's car. The last shot they got for the movie was George Miller pulling that with a string because he wanted it to bounce very specifically. And one of the guys was like, "George, why does this have to be the last shot of this movie?"
See, that's so good though. I love that so much because I noticed that again this time of like, I think it's right after he's like, Nux doing like, "What a day, what a lovely day," and it's like, yeah, it is, it's like nodding its head. It's really good.
Really funny. Yeah, and they rush in. Nux's guy on the back of his car gets killed. There's a lot of death in this whole sequence. They go into the storm. I like you were saying, the colors. I love the way that other truck the other rig gets lifted up and explodes into reds, and just like the storm. Talk about like an example of how to use visual effects, like how to use CGI effects, because if everything in this movie looked like that, it wouldn't have as much impact. But it's not like it's not like when we're like, we want to see things done practically, we want CGI to go away completely, but like know when to use it.
Use CGI for spectacle.
Yes, and it's like a perfect use of it. And it's just wild. And even just how it ends with that one flare, because Nux is going to drop it into the oil filled, like his car's filled with gas. But just that flare flickering out being how we close.
It's such a perfect ending.
Is it akin to, I don't know, Lawrence of Arabia blowing out the match in the sunset? No, but maybe. Maybe.
This next shot though that it opens on,
Yeah.
I've watched this movie several times at this point. It takes me about 2 seconds longer every single time, like 2 seconds longer than it should, to figure out what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
When it's just Max like buried face down in the sand, not moving. You're like, where is his head? Like, what is this? It just, it holds for so long, and it's such an abstract shape. I just love it. It's a great shot.
It really is. I was just real quick before we move on from the storm, I was going to say that it is CGI, but also they shot a lot of dust being blown at a black background with a fan.
Oh.
And incorporated that. So there are practical elements to the storm of just like throwing that in, so we get dust.
That's nice.
Around.
I like that a lot.
And that's nice. Anyway, yeah, I agree. This shot, and even just like, it almost feels like that's where the title could go too. Like it's such like a distinct break in the story that I love. And like, how often can a movie just like fade to black?
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of movies get away with that. Or even attempt to. But yes, he like shifts his head in the way the sand falls. And then we get that kind of, you know, speed ramp of like him coming up, and like, it's really quick and like
intercutting with like the lava explosions, which is really cool. That like really never comes back, doesn't mean anything. It's just nice. It's just cool. Yeah.
He comes up. I hate the blood being woven into the chain. That is such an incredible like prop.
Yeah.
And like design detail that I hate so much. I love it. You know, like it's so wild, and like him still being attached to Nux and having to take the whole car door with him to go check out the rig. I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's just, this is a movie that feels like it was always supposed to exist.
Totally.
And like this sequence of like him arriving and seeing the wives there, you know, cutting the belt off and like using the water to like cool down.
Well, there's something so interesting. There's like the series of shots is so fascinating to me, of like, he comes around the corner and we almost get his POV of it starts out of focus and comes into focus of them.
Yeah.
And these first few shots are fascinating because it's kind of like, when you watch it for the first time, you almost kind of groan a little bit, where you're like, okay, cool. It's the hot girls and they're soaking wet and you can see through their clothes, and okay. And then like, it's like 3 shots of that. And then it's the chastity belt falling to the ground. And it's like, hey, it's not that kind of movie. Like whatever you think, like, we're going to set you up with this expectation and immediately take it away. It's like, stop thinking that way. It's not that kind of movie.
Is it right after that we get Furiosa bumping the sand off of the engines? Like that.
Yeah, we get the full reveal of the arm.
Yeah. And like, you're right. I think that is a scene that could so easily feel groan worthy and awful.
Yeah.
And yet to me they always feel kind of alien to me. Like the way that they're dressed and the way that they look. Even when I was 15, I didn't feel like titillated by it.
Right, exactly.
I was just like, what?
Yeah, because it's so quick. And I like that just as a nice little like statement from the movie of like, nope.
And of course, like I said, I was just kind of like, okay, I have to figure out a lot of things really quickly.
Yeah.
About how this should work. I really like Tom Hardy's performance in this movie. That's the thing, is like, I like how, you know, they talked about how when they originally were looking at doing this with Mel Gibson, they were like, he's going to be old. The idea is that Max is going to be completely insane. He's going to be rocking back and forth. He's going to be fidgety.
Yeah.
And they're like, and Tom brought something completely different to that, which is stillness and then quick bursts of action. And when they were talking about that, I immediately think of him pointing the gun and the way that he like the
little wrist movement,
like the way he moves he's snapping his wrist. He feels so alert. He feels like a trapped animal. So much of this, especially with the mask on, he just feels like a trapped animal. The way that he, you know, gets them to bring the water and just pours the water all over into his face. But we're still cutting back to Nux. We're setting up, it's a great way of just setting up the tension. Just cutting back to Nux and being like, Nux is still at play. He will be waking up.
Yeah, the water splash on his face and he's moving a little bit. He's not dead.
And we're setting all this up, and then is it the Dag? Is it the blonde one who brought the water to him, or who is it?
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's Splendid.
That is
because
Splendid,
we have the shot of her of her showing that she's pregnant,
Yeah.
very heavily pregnant, with the hose as she walks across. And it's
That's
kind of
right.
like this tracking shot, which I
Mhm.
find really interesting. And again, it doesn't feel objectifying. It just
No.
feels like we're setting up, this is important. You understand
Yeah.
she's pregnant. She is the pregnant one.
Mhm.
And then when the way that she ducks away and Furiosa is already running at him,
Yeah.
tags him to the ground, that whole fight. When they were shooting that fight, everyone was really nervous because they were shooting it at a time when they were genuinely hated each other.
Yeah.
And also, fun fact, their stunt doubles in this fight fell in love.
Aw, cute.
And got married, and then they're divorced now, but they got married and have a kid together.
Oh,
And I think that's kind of nice.
that's kind of nice.
And so anyway, I love that, like, the dichotomy of that, of like the 4 people involved in shooting this fight scene. 2 of them hate each other so much that people were worried they were going to kill each other.
Yeah.
And the other 2 fell in love. It's great.
Yep.
And I think, again, it's just like a really well executed fight scene of like, we have enough of him and Furiosa fighting around and bringing the door up. And like, there's just so many things that are interesting at play. And then you get Nux, like, tripping her.
Yeah.
And all of this. And I also love the reveal of when she gets the gun from him and goes to shoot him and it doesn't fire. And she like looks frustrated.
Yeah.
Like she's like, of course it wasn't good. Like, of course you were just like faking out. Like,
Yeah.
that's so fun. It's just great. It's really good. And I love the way that he gets Nux to like cut the bolt, like cut the chain. And Nux is like, this is great. You can ask for anything. And he's like, that's my jacket. And he's like, all right, yeah.
You can ask a lot more than a jacket.
And then, I mean, what are your thoughts on how they so quickly have to team up?
Yeah, it's again, it's very efficient. Of he takes the rig, he can't drive any further because the kill switches. She comes, and she's like, hey, like, it's not going anywhere without me. And he's like, then we wait. We just wait here and they come and get us. And she's trying to convince him.
I noticed this time, I love the line she says where she's like, you are banking a lot on the kindness
of a very bad man.
A very bad man. Or the gratitude of a very bad man. And I just really liked how she worded
It's really
that.
good. And I like, she's doing that. She's trying to persuade him. And I love that finally we get to, she's like, do you want that thing off your face? And he just gives her this look. And it's like, yeah, all right. Now, then we start. It's just good. It's good.
It's really good. And also, the minute they're back on the road, how quickly, he's grabbing all the weapons and finding all of them. And it's just a nice refresh of that classic gag of just someone has so many guns on them. But he's doing all of this. And then when they get to the canyon, and again, they haven't been driving together for very long.
Yeah.
And she's already like, here's what the kill switches are, and are showing him so that because she knows he's going to have to drive. Yeah. Anyway, I skipped over some stuff there, but
that's okay. I think we need to get through the rest of this.
Yeah. I mean, like he, Nux reunites with Immortan Joe, gets to ride on his car, does the jump, mediocre.
Yep.
It's just, it's great. Cause then we get the motorbike people in the canyon.
Yep. And we get the setup. We get like the payoff that will come later is she's like, all right, I'm going to go talk to these people. I need to like, what's your name? I need to call, like, what do I call you? I need to talk to you. And he's like, does it matter? He's like, fine. When I say fool, we'll drive. But like that question of like, what is your name? That is central and will come in later.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Motorcycle people, their, deal's gone bad. They just need to get out of there. Right. The chase sequence is really good. I love like the color bombs they drop on them.
Yeah.
Really good. And yeah.
Sorry, we also got the reveal of, wait, do we meet the people eater and the bullet farmer yet? We
Not
see them
yet.
coming.
We see them coming. I don't think they get there until I think it's when the boulders have already crashed.
Oh yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay.
Yeah. So chase sequence.
Get through.
Yeah, they uncouple. No, it's the biker people close up the canyon for them because they don't want to deal with Immortan Joe and all of that. So they close up the canyon and they start chasing them.
Yes.
Fight off all of those guys. Again, really good, like, just teamwork motion. I love, like, the way that Furiosa and Max, like, lean around each other to take shots as these motorcyclists are jumping over the top of them.
Yeah.
Really cool. Love the giant scoop at the front of the truck to put out the flames. It's like, yeah, they've thought of this. They know this has happened before.
Again, it's so well designed and thought out and so cool. And, like, props to the design team for, like, figuring out all these vehicles. Immortan Joe gets through. His car is chasing after them. The Giga Horse is chasing after them. We get Splendid leaning out of the car, protecting Furiosa.
Yep.
Oh, because they have a shot.
We forgot to mention that during the section where Max shows up and gets the water, he shoots the handgun as Splendid's walking away and scrapes her leg.
Yes.
So her leg is bloody, and that's part of it. Is that she leans out to protect Furiosa, protects the shot, almost gets, it's a fake out of there's a big, rock formation. And it's interesting. I like, again, the characterization of Immortan Joe of he cares about them, but only as property, right? Only as things, but he does care about those things. So he calls it out. He's like, look out, watch out, it's coming, and she gets back inside, but she slips on her own blood and she falls and gets run over.
Goes under the wheels.
Yeah. Really devastating moment.
And he swerves, he
completely
throws
flips
the whole thing because he just wants, a healthy air.
And that's another moment I really like of Tom's, his performance is they're like, go back for her. And he's like, we can't, it doesn't matter. And Furious asks him, did you see it? He's like, well, she went under the wheels.
What happened? He says she went under the wheels. And then she says, did you see it? And he goes, and he takes the time to look at her and is like, she went under the wheels. Yeah, just it's a really good line delivery. I like that moment a lot. And so they keep going without her. Leading to the reveal that I kind of love is that when Immortan Joe talks, the mask doesn't move. Yes. But in this scene, the jaw comes down while he is screaming in rage. It's so, I don't know. It's almost too good.
Mm-hmm.
It cracks me up because he's just firing out as he's holding her.
He's holding her.
And Rictus is the one who's firing out. By the way, what happened to Scrotus?
Yeah, pour one out for Scrotus.
Pour one out for Scrotus, guys, because he dies between movies.
Yeah, didn't make it.
But maybe he went off and maybe had a quick, come to Jesus moment and left.
Could be.
But I forgot to mention earlier, Rictus drinks some of the milkmaid's milk and says moo.
Moo.
And that's why I'm never going to watch this with subtitles on ever again. I didn't need to know that he said that.
I don't need that.
Yeah, so they get away. Nux is on board.
Yeah.
And is it at this point that right?
Yeah.
Because
because he messed up and now he's like, I've been denied Valhalla. 3 times I saw the gates and 3 times I messed it up. I'm worth nothing.
Yeah. I'm just trying to remember when Nux boards, truck escapes, Angarad, which is Splendid's name, Angarad dies. They all got to choose their names, basically. They got to choose each other's names because they weren't named in the script.
Yeah.
So Cheeto came about. Toast the Knowing comes from, there is a visual effects data wrangler who worked on the film, and his nickname was Toast. And Zoe Kravitz loved that so much that she was like, can my character be named Toast?
Toast is really good.
And so that's great. So anyway, Splendid's name is Angarad. But she dies. Well, not yet. We don't know that yet.
Yeah.
Furiosa explains to Max they are escaping to the green place. Capable goes to the back, finds Nux. So we're right. We're right on.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We can trust ourselves. He's distraught over his failure. We find out he's got these tumors that he's named and drawn smiley faces on. He's just he just feels like a little boy in that moment, so much. And it's, that night the truck gets stuck in mud. And can we just do everyone listening, can we just do a big round of applause for the blue sequence of this movie?
The blue sequence is
because
so
the blue
good.
sequence is my favorite part of the movie.
Yeah.
And it really just affected me so much when I saw it the first time.
I love the stilt walker, guys.
I was like, a movie can be orange and then blue?
Yeah.
But specifically, I love how the lantern they have in the cab keeps them not blue.
Yeah.
I just love the commitment to that of
it's
blue
really
is
good.
Night. It's nighttime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And just leaning into day for night like that is just so rad. I love the crow guys, like you said. Yep. They get stuck in the mud. Meanwhile,
here's my pin. Okay, well, finish your meanwhile. But
meanwhile, the organic mechanic, which is a character I love.
What a crazy name.
The organic mechanic is, he cuts Splendid open and is
performs an autopsy.
He's a healthy baby boy.
Yep.
And Immortan Joe is pissed.
Yeah, very upset.
I quote it all the time with my dad, Rictus saying, "I had a baby brother.
And he was
I had a little
perfect.
baby brother, and he was perfect. Perfect in every way.
Mm-hmm.
Just quote that a lot.
Yep.
Just wanted to give a quick shout out to that gross moment. The studio
Yes.
hated
It's awful.
the stillborn
It's
and the
awful.
umbilical cord. By the
Mhm.
way, they had to fight for that to stay in.
I'll bet.
And isn't it the people eater has this line here where he's like, all this for a family squabble.
I think that's the bullet farmer guy, because that's why he goes on ahead.
Right, and then he goes on ahead.
Yeah,
and
okay.
his car rocks.
Yeah, his car with the tank shirts. Okay, so this was one of my pins, is that bullet farmer guy is on his way out, and he just starts shooting into the darkness. And his guys are like, "Hey, shouldn't we like not hit the brights?" Like, I'm just probing. You know, he's just trying to find where the truck is in the darkness, and he hits it a couple times. The truck's stuck, and while they're driving, they were making a very specific moment of counting how much ammunition they had. Yeah. And they only had 3 bullets for the giant sniper rifle. And so Max takes a sniper rifle and he goes and he kneels down. He's like shooting into the darkness and he takes a shot. And Toast goes, 2 left. And he kind of like gives her a look for a second. He's like, And he tries again and he misses. And she doesn't say 1 left, but we know. And at this point, Furiosa comes and she kneels behind Max. She doesn't say anything. She doesn't do anything. She just watches. And this is one of my favorite moments in the movie and a thesis moment of the film, of Max is sitting there. He's got the sniper rifle and he pauses for a minute and he closes his eyes and he hands the rifle back to her. Mm-hmm. And she takes the rifle and to steady it, she puts it on his shoulder and he stays kneeling so that she can steady the shot.
Don't breathe.
Mm-hmm. She takes the shot, blows up the glass and blinds the bullet farmer.
Yeah.
And it's one of my favorite moments in the movie. And I think it is just a perfect summation of what this movie is trying to do, of like, Max is here as the supporting lead. This is Furiosa's movie. This is Furiosa's story, and she will take the actions needed to save them. And he will be there to support her in that. And that's such an interesting dynamic for the titular action male hero. Exactly.
To do.
Exactly. And I love it. I love it so much.
It's really great. Yeah, it's so good. I love them holding the flare up to the bullet farmer's eyes and him like, put the flare in front of my eyes. I'm like, we are.
It's
and he's
right
like, move it closer. And he's like, it's right in front of your eyes.
Yeah.
And then he just wraps something around his eyes and just starts yelling gun fever as he rolls out into the darkness, firing wildly.
It's good.
Meanwhile, Nux is helping them. He's, they've hitched it to a tree thing.
Yep.
Pull the truck over the hill.
Yep. Get it out.
They get away. They pass by the crow people.
Yep.
Which is something that I love so much. I just love that little detail of the world. I just go, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's good.
Great. They head out.
Engine overheats.
Oh yeah, that's the thing, is they have to start pouring water on the
Well, they start pouring milk on it. They don't have
on the engine. Right.
And so they got to cool it down. And so Max takes a bunch of explosives and he's like, I'm gonna go buy us some time. And she said, well, what if you aren't back when the engines start? And he just like so nonchalant, he's like, then you keep moving. Like, just go.
Yeah.
And he ventures off into the darkness and he gets his badass moment after Furiosa's had hers of, you see this distant explosion in the fog.
He comes out of the dark.
Yeah, and Furiosa, is like holding up a gun, waiting to see who it is. It's him. He's covered in blood. Just like, looks like he's got this huge
One of the
wound.
wives is like, are you okay? You're bleeding. And I love that Furiosa is the one who goes, it's not his blood. And then he's like, what is this? And they're like, it's milk. And he's like, and then like starts washing his face with it.
Yeah, just washes up.
Wild. This is a weird ass movie, man.
Crazy.
Nux has joined the group. And Max has stolen more guns and ammunition.
Yeah, they got more stuff.
Well. They drive the truck overnight through swampland, desert, coming across a naked woman the next day.
Atop a pole.
And actually, I noticed this time it's an old power line tower. Yeah, I'd never caught that before.
It's really cool.
And she's yelling for help, and he goes,
We get an all-time great GIF from the internet.
That's bait. Tom Hardy improvised that.
That's really good
because he wanted more lines for himself, and they encouraged it, and so he
I think I read is it 57 lines he has in this whole movie?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
sounds right. Yeah, it's Megan Gale plays the Valkyrie, which is this woman. She's the youngest member of the Vuvolini. They were going to be the Volvolini, and the studio said no.
You still get the idea.
You get the idea.
Mm-hmm. That's
I
so
love that
funny.
the studio's like, oh, there's no L? Okay. It's like,
Okay, cool.
guys,
Guys, it's
we
still
get it still.
Yeah,
All
it's
right.
okay, sure.
But she comes down. She's supposed to be one of Furiosa's friends growing up. She was born the exact same day as Charlize Theron, which is really interesting.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, like August 1st, 1975 or something like that. She comes down, and the Vuvolini show up, and the Vuvolini is some of the coolest shit ever.
It's really rad.
And hearing all of the actresses who played them in the book talk about how they were like, you know, at our ages, we're playing grandmothers, we're playing, you know, widows, we're playing these people, we're playing people in nursing homes. They're like, the fact that I got to play a badass old woman who rides a motorbike and kills people for supplies, and then they don't leave. They go with them.
Yeah.
Is so cool.
It's really, really good.
But before they do that, obviously, Furiosa is like, so where is it? And they're like, where's what? And she's like, you know, the green place, home. Where's home? And they're like, well, if you came from west,
like you passed it,
drove through it. And that moment hits so hard every time.
It's really gut-wrenching.
And what I love about this, if you can believe it, is as they were approaching this day of shooting, Charlize Theron was like, George, I think Furiosa needs a moment because she's been so stoic this whole time. We need to see her completely mourn this. And he was like, okay. And so that's her idea.
Cool.
So when they're shooting this scene with the Vuvolini, they finish shooting everything they had storyboarded and they're like, okay, run. Yeah. And they run up a dune and just quickly frame the shot. And they have so little time to frame it as the sun just starts to set. The wind shifts directions.
Such a perfect shot.
The wind shifts directions just as they are about to start rolling. And they're like, and it became like a perfect shot.
That's crazy. It's incredible. Like it's one of the best shots in the movie. Wow. That's wild.
I just love how much of that is just like, that's what movie making is.
Yeah, truly.
It's just going, hey, should like an actor being like, I think this makes sense for my character. The director going, okay. Yep. And then like the cinematographer, camera operator running up the hill and being like, I guess this is going to work. And then it being the perfect shot.
Yeah. Yep. Completely.
Sure.
Yeah. Sure. Why not?
Sure. Why not?
Yep.
So their plan is to just ride out into the salt pit, and in the hopes of finding a new home. Max chooses to stay behind.
Yep.
He gets the girl ghost,
like throws something at him, and he
throws something
puts
at him.
His hand up.
Puts his hand up, and then he thinks about it. Also, I had never caught the detail of that night. The night before, they have a brief moment where they're talking, and she's like, "There's a bike for you," and he's like, "No." But before that, I had never caught him dotting the map with his own blood. I had never caught that before because I knew that he brings it to her, but I hadn't caught that that's what he's doing.
Yeah.
The night before, and he brings it to her, and he's like, "We got to go back the way we came." And Parker, you specifically wanted to mention this line. I feel like,
well, this line, was just, I don't know, it just really hit me for, you know, some personal life reasons in a big way of just, you know, he's like, it's going to be a hard day, but I promise you that one day going back is better than 160 days of whatever is out there, because it's just salt that way, you know. And it's just like, it's just a really powerful moment. And again, it's her choice. He presents the plan. He doesn't override them and says, this is what we're doing. He presents an idea, and then he offers his hand to her. He's like, okay, are you with me? Does this sound like something you want to do? And she sits with it for a minute and then takes his hand. He's like, yeah, let's do it. Again, her choice. Yeah. She is the protagonist. She is steering the course of events.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah. It's great. And it feels especially like, it's interesting. Like, she is so clearly the protagonist, and yet also giving Max this moment to come up with the idea. And basically being like, this is what you have to do, but still making it a choice. But like giving him that, I think also just makes him so relevant to the movie too, of like, it's just a great partnership.
Yeah. You can't remove him from this.
No. And yet also I love that, like you're saying, like Furiosa is still the protagonist. She makes that choice. I think it's kind of perfect. They head back to the Citadel.
Yep.
And Parker, it's at this point where I have to mention to everybody my theory that this is just Fantastic Mr. Fox. In the sense that there are 3 guys, all, one, I guess you could argue one fat, one short, one lean.
Indeed.
And they all have different economic focuses. They're all kind of, businessmen of a kind. And there is someone who stole something very valuable from them.
Yeah.
From one of them in particular. And he's on a mad quest to chase them and hunt them down and get them. And the only difference, let me iterate this really hard. The only difference
of course,
between both movies is that in Fantastic Mr. Fox, when they realize that the Citadel is undefended, they go back and they say, we took everything. There's more of the movie.
Right.
This movie decides to cut that last act, which I think is really bold.
Yeah.
As an adaptation of Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Right.
Anyway.
It's good. It's a good observation.
Thank you, everyone, for humoring me. I think that's true. I think that's accurate. And everyone who says that's not the case is a liar, including everyone in that book I read.
Indeed.
Anyway.
So, yeah, we get our last big action sequence.
We do.
They head back. They drive right through them.
And yet it still feels... they do a good job of every chase feeling different.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like you're watching the same action again and again every time.
Totally.
Right? Like, having the Vuvolini there is really exciting.
Well, this one...
Megan...
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
No, please.
Well, I was just going to say, Megan Gale's character, the Valkyrie, Furiosa's childhood friend, was originally planned to be on the platform at the end and survive this chase.
Yeah.
But Megan Gale, when she got offered the role, was like, oh, well, I'm about to take a really great trip with my partner. And George Miller was like, let me come back to you. And then he came back and he was like, I figured out a way you can do both.
That's really good. Hey, that's great.
Like, we're just going to have to kill you.
Sure.
She was
Which,
okay.
I do, that's funny you should mention that, because that was what I was about to mention, is that, I think the thing that makes this one distinct, especially, is that, the stakes have always been high, but now there's a cost. We have, I wouldn't dare say that they're disposable, but we have characters now who we care about that aren't our main characters who can die.
Yeah.
And we can still feel something for.
The Valkyrie. These people are dying. Nux, ultimately.
Right.
Yeah.
It's and so now it's oh, there are consequences to this. And this feels like the finale because people we are dropping now.
Well, and also the polecats are in this chase too.
Polecats
right?
So
we
cool.
have new elements coming in. Wild. The polecats are wild. And the fact that they are real is bonkers.
I still can't get over, and I know it's plus by some CG, but that shot that was in the trailers everywhere of Max being pulled by one of the polecats in front of the explosion as it goes, so cool.
The one that really blows me away is when that polecat comes in and just yoinks Zoe Kravitz.
Yeah.
And it's just and they were gonna fake that too. And then they were like, no, let's just do it.
Let's just do it.
Let's just
crazy.
Let's just do that. 50 feet in the air. Why not? On a moving vehicle. Sure. It's wild. No one died in real life. And it's just a lot of fun. It's very exciting. We get back through the canyon. So Toast the Knowing is in Joe's car.
Yep.
And Furiosa gets her shit rocked.
Somebody just
that's what's
spikes
wild.
her in the spine.
I mean, it's just really tense. And the chainsaw people and how much effort everyone has to put in to fend off these raiders.
It's what's crazy to me about this movie is that there is a moment after Furiosa has been stabbed and the cars are closing in on all sides and the music hits a very somber, everything's over. And every time I watch this movie, I've moved in this movie a lot, and I always forget how they get out of that. I'm watching this, I'm man, they got him. This is a hopeless situation. Everything feels lost in that moment.
Yeah.
And then they pull it out, and it's great.
Remind me again.
It's just all of the crazy stuff of Nux coming through and, baiting Rictus, and Max does the hand thing.
And stops a bow from going into his head.
But it does go into his head, which is crazy.
But just not all the way
just a piece of it is just sticking out of his skull. It's crazy.
Because it would have killed him, but the ghost girl knew that somehow.
Yeah. Yeah. Setup and payoff. This whole thing.
This whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like Nux comes through getting the engine. They're able to reconnect the engine so it can go its max speed.
Yep.
Fighting Rictus.
Mm-hmm.
And then Furiosa making her way up to the front.
Yeah.
And hooking. She like attaches
like a spear, basically.
A spear to Joe's mask. That's attached to about to be attached to the tire.
Yep.
And she just says, "Remember me." Mm-hmm. And then his face gets ripped off.
Let's watch that with Ellie, and Ellie just went, "Oh!" Like just yeah.
It's just enough of the face getting ripped that you have that reaction without
very visceral,
without it fully just ruining the moment for you.
Yeah, totally.
And I think that's really impressive, that the moment is victorious and it's brutal.
Yep.
Without feeling like, oh,
yep.
I don't know if we needed to see that. It's
it's very
like,
good. Yeah. It's excellent. It's an excellent way to get rid of the baddie.
They get him. I always forget that Nux telling Capable, like, I'll be right behind you.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason that really changes is because Rictus is going to be so close to.
Rictus rips the engine out.
Yes, and he's gonna, and he was close to the car.
Mm-hmm.
He backs up, Nux lets off the gas.
Yeah.
Rictus rips the engine off, and that's
why he doesn't come. Like, it's not even meant to be like a self-sacrifice. It's just by necessity it becomes that.
He needs to.
Yeah,
and he says, "Witness me."
It's very good.
And they flip the truck, and Guy Norris did that too.
Cool. Of course.
And I think he was like, okay, that's it. I've done all the major stunts in the movie. He's like, I'll let other people do that now. I'll just be teaching stunts. And his sons are like, yeah, he didn't even really retire though. And it's nuts. Yeah. They get to the Citadel.
Well, no, wait.
No, I'm sorry.
This is my second pin.
Parker,
so
I'm sorry.
They are driving back in Immortan Joe's car, and Furiosa is dying. Like, her lungs have collapsed. Yeah. So Max takes a knife, and I love I am so sorry, and like stabs her in the side to get her to breathe again. But they're telling him, he's like, she's losing too much blood. And when he said that, Ellie just goes, universal donor. And I was like, yeah! And he hooks himself up. And like, again, this moment is the thesis statement of the film. It's like, the titular character, the legacy franchise character, will give you my blood so that you can make something new. That you, the person who has built and fought for this new way of life and this new story that we are telling, I will share my lifeblood with you to give you life. And it's like, yeah, it's great. It's really good. And he finally tells her his name. He says, my name's Max. And
he says it twice.
Mm-hmm. Just gives me chills. It's so good.
It's really good. I wish that Parker got chills every time I said my name. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like that's just as impactful.
I think so.
Every time I call you, I say, my name is Max. And you're just like, okay.
All right. And?
It's really good. What a good movie.
What a good movie.
What a perfect, because they get to the Citadel.
They get the Citadel.
They, and everyone chants, let them up.
Yep, because they show off Immortan Joe's body.
Immortan Joe's dead. There was a version of the story where they were going to have Toast the Knowing go, back when Immortan Joe was, he painted himself cobalt blue.
Oh.
Toast the Knowing was going to go and paint herself cobalt blue and like try and make herself Immortan.
Mm.
And then they were like, I don't know.
So, no, this works. Because again, it's like we talked about earlier of the war pups letting them up. That it's like, okay, this cult does not go as deep as the power structure suggested it did.
The war pups and also the milkmaids.
Mm-hmm.
The milkmaids are the ones who push and let the water
out. Yeah.
The water out. I will say, as much as I love this ending, I do always immediately get stressed because I don't know how much water they have.
Yeah, I'm like, what's...
And I'm always like, well, okay, let's not get crazy.
Well, he's pumping it up from deep within the earth. He's fine. There's lots of water down there.
There's going to be a lot of water. But my, my environmentally conscious ass is like,
but how much water is there?
Like, I'm not trying to like promote hoarding the wealth. I'm just like, let's make sure that we have enough to go around before we just start willy-nilly dumping it.
That's really good.
God, I sound like a Democrat.
I knew it was going to happen sooner or later.
I sound like I should be in Congress right now. let's not get crazy.
Mm.
We can't just do that.
No.
Anyway, good movie, great movie. The original ending was that Max would go up with them especially when it was going to be Mel Gibson. It was like, this is his ending.
Yeah.
But when the studio did make them shoot that ending, but George Miller basically intentionally shot it poorly because he was like, this isn't going in. He's like, there's no way this is going in, because they were like, what this requires is for Max to continue on, because, and someone in the book mentions like, Max isn't going to be okay until he like goes back to his wife and child's graves and just like sits for a minute.
Sure.
And I was like, yeah, I believe that. And also it's just so rad that he leaves and they just have this moment of recognition. You know, she's going up on the platform and he's walking off into the crowd, which is just, that's cooler.
Yeah, it is cool.
That's such a cool hero move.
It also fits so much better. Like it makes it a Western, you know. It is fully the gunslinger who comes into town, rights the wrongs, but can't stay, has to go, you know?
Yeah.
And
totally.
like, it works so well in that regard, which to the point that like you've talked about of, I don't know if this comes from creators or just fans specifically, of the notions like, hey, all of the Mad Max movies are oral legends about the same guy. And the details are going to be weird and the continuity isn't going to match because it's just people telling stories about this dude in the wasteland, you know? And if that is the approach we're taking of making him a mythic figure, he can't stay. He can't have an ending. He has to go back to where he came from, which is the nothingness.
Yeah. He has to carry on as this mythic figure, which I think is really interesting. Totally. And I love that also enables for the last shot to be of Furiosa as the platform rises and fills the screen. And then that's it. Yeah. End of the movie. Perfect movie.
Perfect. Like it. Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah. It's great.
Like a perfect movie. Is there anything else that you wanted to say, Parker?
I think I touched all my bases.
I really loved what you said about the thesis of this movie. I think you're right. It is interesting that when they were first planning it out, they didn't set out, when they were first writing this movie back in 1997, they weren't setting out to make a feminist environmental film.
Yeah.
That just happened by nature of the story they were telling. And then they were able to build that out and support it with who they cast and how they, you know, supported the actresses and, you know, had Margaret Sixel really take a look at it. And like all of those steps came as a natural progression of what they were doing rather than setting out, I think we should make a girl boss movie.
Right.
You know?
Yep.
Again, it sounds like I really have no issue with movies starring. I hope it doesn't seem that way.
No, I don't think so.
I just think that this is such a great example of how to do it and how to make it seem genuine and feel real and feel genuine and like genuinely interested in these issues and all of these things.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Amen.
I love this movie. Okay. Criteria. I think this is not without its merits in historical and technical relevance.
I think you're right.
Just so we are aware, this movie, which if you'll remember is a Mad Max sequel, an action movie. It did go on to become the highest grossing Mad Max film, which doesn't mean it made a lot. It made $380 million worldwide. But it was nominated for 10 awards at the 88th Academy Awards, winning 6 of them.
Yeah.
And
I remember
accolades.
watching that year and just seeing that sweep and being so excited. I was like, wow, it's happening.
Yeah. And it also took Best Film from the National Board of Review and was also named one of the top 10 films of 2015 by the American Film Institute.
Wow.
I would really like them to redo their list. I'd be really curious. Even though this doesn't feel like an American film, this feels like an Australian film.
Very much so. 100%.
Like if this ever was like put into like the, you know, the National Film Institute, I'd be like, take it out of there.
Yeah.
It's
eligible now. It's been 10 years.
There you go. Get it in there. It's also retroactively been called one of the greatest action films of all time. I'm seeing here asterisk except for John Wick 4. Which is really interesting. I guess Parker wrote that list.
Look, man, it's a good movie.
John Wick 4 is a good movie.
It's a really good movie. Yeah.
Maybe you'll have to bring it to the podcast.
I just might.
let's see here. Reception. I'm just seeing if we missed anything else. Specifically, the Oscars. It won Best Film Editing, Best Production Design, Best Costume Design, Best Makeup and Hairstyling, Best Sound Mixing, and Best Sound Editing.
Yeah, kind of swept the technicals.
It's pretty rare for a movie to win Best Editing and not win Best Picture.
Yeah,
I think is the case. Best Picture went to Spotlight,
right,
and Best Director went to NRD2 for The Revenant. Which, okay,
sure,
he won the year before for Birdman, but okay,
yeah.
Anyway, just a really great movie.
Yeah, and
it has continued to be considered one of the greatest movies of the. It ranked number 7 on Rolling Stone's list of the 100 best movies of the 21st century, and it ranked number 11 on the New York Times list of the 100 best movies of the 21st century, and it's number 210 on the Sight and Sound, the British Sight and Sound from 2022.
Cool.
So just for that context.
Yeah, and like what I will say for this criteria is, I think this movie kind of redefined, or maybe solidified is a better word, because like it doesn't do like, you know, it's not reinventing the wheel, but this is what people think of when you say post-apocalyptics. You know, like that's like this is, and when you say Mad Max aesthetic, it's this and Road Warrior, or like the two, like, you know, Thunderdome. Like those are like the aesthetics people are riffing off of, are those two movies.
Yeah. But I think you're right. Like this has become one of the most iconic kind of post-apocalypse movies. What? Wow, I really butchered that.
Hey, I did it too.
Yeah. Apparently we should be done talking, apparently. I don't know. As far as like taking the point from Kane, I think I'm good giving this movie some credit and giving the point to the movie.
Yeah, I can get behind that.
I don't know. I just feel like it's, you know, it's the thing we run into of like a pop culturally. This movie has so much like sway.
Yeah.
And has become kind of, you know, placed upon that pedestal of like, this is one of the big ones, you know? I don't know. Maybe not though. Do you have an argument for not?
The only thing that would cause me to hesitate is just, it's the part of my brain that is like, is 10 years far enough to know how much of an impact it's had yet? You know, like, does it need to be longer when Kane has such a huge history? But like, we can't control that. That's the only thing I would maybe possibly catch on. But otherwise, I think I'm in agreement.
I would like to say this, having read the book, I think the approach to this movie is so unique in a way that the approach to making Kane was so unique. The difference is that no one will ever look at how this movie was made and go, oh, we should replicate that.
Yeah. Nope, that makes, it's kind of Jaws in that way.
Yes, I think Jaws is a great way of looking at it, of like, God, no one should ever do that again, but it's worked.
Really rad that they did it. Yeah, totally.
It's just one of those.
I can get behind that. All right,
I think I'm willing to give the point
to Fury Road.
How well do you think it's doing what it's trying to do?
Flawlessly, perfectly. I have no notes.
Perfectly. Perfect movie. Great.
5 stars every time I watch it. What do you want from me?
And do you like the movie? Yeah,
a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, I do.
We like the movie a lot.
We like this movie quite a bit.
Now, Parker, maybe this will be a more interesting point to everyone. Let's just say it, though. Should I say it?
You should say it. You love this movie. Say it.
Okay. Mad Max Fury Road is better than Citizen Kane. There it is.
Woo-woo.
My next question, Parker, is this in the top 5 of our list? Do you want me to read those off? We don't typically
please do.
iterate on this on the episode.
I think we should do an episode. Like, I know you have plans for what we open with next year, and I'm very excited for those plans. However, sometime in maybe a closing of a year, opening a year, we should do an episode about the list. I think we should. Yeah.
Maybe that's our 100th episode.
Could be. Anyway.
Okay. Top 5 currently. Well, maybe we'll look at the top 10 just to give you a little more flexibility.
Give me the top 10.
At 10, we have, and I'm in my head about if I've ever said it right. I'm really worried because I might have steered you wrong. Jean Dielman. I don't know, but that movie, the French woman movie.
Yep.
Jean Dielman. 9, When Harry Met Sally. 8, Do the Right Thing.
Yeah.
7, There Will Be Blood. And There Will Be.
Mm-hmm.
That's the sequel. It's like
Right.
Mamma Mia. Here we
And
go
there
again.
will be.
There Will Be Blood and There Will Be. The Night of the Hunter
Yep.
is number 6. Number 5, Cinema Paradiso.
Okay.
Number 4, Jaws. Number 3, Lawrence of Arabia. Number 2, Casablanca. And number 1, Portrait of a Lady on Fire. I stand by that.
Yeah, absolutely. I
don't think this goes above Jaws.
No, I have such a deep love for Paradiso that like
I know you do.
That's the thing that's tough for me. But if I am trying to be as objective about the rankings of this list as possible, then it probably does take the number 5 spot.
Is that your approach to this? Are you objective about the list? Okay. Because I would be willing, if we must, I would be willing to put it at 7 above There Will Be Blood.
What's 6?
The Night of the Hunter.
Oh, you think Night of the Hunter's okay? Interesting. Okay.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think I feel about The Night of the Hunter the way you feel about Cinema
Right.
Paradiso.
Exactly. Yeah.
So either we preserve our little baby movies right there.
Right. It's slotted at 7. Slotted at 7. I think that's great.
Great. Goodbye,
Pour one out.
And hello, Mad Max Fury Road. Great. Okay. Well,
yeah.
There we go. Thank you everyone for listening.
Thanks
to this
everyone.
long episode.
Hey, we had lots to say. Max read
Parker,
a whole
what
book.
Are we doing? I read a whole book.
I read a whole book.
Parker, what are we doing? What are we doing next time?
Next time is apropos for me actually, because I will be in a brand new location. I will be across the country, which is very exciting, moving to a new place, which is then fitting because I will be able to look at Max and I'll be able to say, Max, I don't think we're in Kansas anymore. Because next time we'll be looking at... That's right. Wicked Part 2. We got a screener.
We got a screener for good and we're not following the embargo. No,
we're taking a look at the original MGM's classic, The Wizard of Oz, 1939. Is that correct? Off the top of my head?
Yes, it is 1939. All right. Well done. You deserve to follow that yellow brick road, Parker.
I will. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm really excited. Just from one great movie to another.
Yeah, we're on a good kick.
The Wizard of Oz has been on the list for a while.
Yeah.
Of want to do. So I'm excited.
Agreed.
All right. Well
thanks as always, everyone. Take care. See you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.